Hey, I'm Robert, the college counselor at College Torch. I have 5 essay tips for the UC application. Here's the first one. Don't start with the personal statement. Always start with the UC essays. These are much simpler. They're more straightforward and direct and short. Definitely don't do the creative, wacky task first. That's the personal statement. Try to start with the UC essays so that you can kind of ramp in to the essay task. You can get used to it. You can sharpen your skills a little bit. You can find your voice, get used to telling your stories. Then, when you're done the UC essays, move on to that personal statement task. That one's a little bit harder. Don't be creative. These aren't creative essay tasks. It's not the personal statement. Don't get too wild. Don't use flashbacks. Don't make a metaphor. You're going to be very simple, straightforward, and direct with your answer. But here's where you can add a little something special. You can have a unique interpretation of the prompt, and that can be very nice for the UC essay reader to read. So when they ask you for a greatest skill, your skill can be anything, not just something you do with your hands. And when they ask you how you're creative, you can create in any way that you want. And when they ask you how you helped your community, you can choose your community. It does not have to be the one you live in your neighborhood or your school. It can be any group of people. Those are just examples. Now you go back to your UC essays and start thinking of some creative, unique interpretations of the prompt to show off your cool mind. Here's tip number 3. Write an outline. The personal statement is really creative, and maybe it doesn't lend itself so well to an outline, but the UC essays are straightforward, and so they definitely lend themselves to an outline. Students who don't outline their essays tend to go off the rails. They write about their thoughts that come up. They write about different things. They ramble. They tend to write honors and awards maybe. Those don't go in a UC essay. Don't be those students. Instead, write the outline. You just want to come up with your content ahead of time. Be very deliberate and purposeful about it. Organize it. Put it in the order that you want it to be in. Give it little sub-bullets so that you can have the detail there. This is going to help you so much. It's a roadmap. And why would you turn down a roadmap for something as important as your UC application essays? You want to tell a story. Just because the UC essays are direct doesn't mean they just want a bunch of facts. So if you just give a bunch of facts, that's like, here I am, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. You're going in a straight line. What the UC essay readers want to see is how you're growing. They don't care where you're at, they care where you're going. This is a trajectory. If you've changed so much in the last 2 years through your story, that means that in another year when you get to their UC campus, that you'll probably have grown that much more. So when you tell your story, you're thinking about a trajectory. You start low, then you do some actions, and then you end high. So that's sort of the tried and true formula for structuring an awesome story in your UC essay. This one is so important. You need to revise your essays. Nothing good in the history of writing was ever written on a first draft. You need to prepare to write at least 3 drafts. And here's the process you're going to use. Every time you finish a draft, you have to put it on the shelf. That means that you just forget about it. And you're going to forget about it for at least 24 hours. The goal is to get perspective on your draft so that you can come back with fresh eyes, ready to challenge it. It's not easy, but when you get it, you're going to have awesome UC essays and you'll be ready to submit them to the University of California.